Hey guys, InternetMexican here. Um, this has been a pretty tough week, right? Pretty tough last couple days. Obviously, there's been a lot of protests. There's been a lot of demonstrations as a result of the murder of George Floyd at the hands of police officers. A lot of people from different communities, from different backgrounds, have taken to the streets to go out and push forth the message: Black Lives Matter, and we're tired of seeing police departments around the country acting more like the community's or the government's intimidation force rather than acting the role of public servant and keeping the community safe. As a result of that, we have just one more case to add upon a stack of cases where an innocent man was murdered. An innocent African American man was murdered by the very people sworn to protect that community. Obviously, this brought out a lot of anger within this country, and there's been a lot of people out there protesting, demonstrating, demanding justice. A lot of members of the African American community, since this is the community in this country to which this seems to happen the most. But there's also been members of like the Latino community. I've seen a lot of white people out there, a lot of different people, a lot of different backgrounds out there protesting. A lot of us have come to the realization that the only way we're going to get justice is by standing together, fighting together, shouting together. However, not everybody has gotten this message. There's a lot of people out there still thinking with this colonial state of mind, or with this brainwashing that's been put on us by those that have colonized us. By which I mean there's members of the Hispanic Latino community who still hold a lot of anti-black racism. If we're going to make any kind of progress, that shit needs to stop. And this is actually something that I've been saying, and I've been making videos about this pretty much like the last couple days. Not here on YouTube, but more sort of short form, quick videos on TikTok, which if you want to check out, TikTok, InternetMexican. And in making those videos, most of those videos were a response to people saying, why would you support the Black Lives Matter community? Who cares? That guy that got murdered, he wasn't Mexican, and it doesn't matter that he wasn't. It doesn't have to be someone who looks like me that gets killed in order for me to be outraged. A lot of things that the Hispanic community needs to understand as well is that a lot of the issues that African Americans face in this country, as far as like racial discrimination or like racial profiling by law enforcement, those are problems that are faced by the Hispanic community as well. So when it happens to them, we need to stand up and march and demonstrate against it and demand justice. Because if it benefits them, guess what? It's also going to benefit us. Think back to like the civil rights movement, which was predominantly African American. They went out there, they got beat, bro, hosed down. They had dogs just thrown at them. And at the end of the day, when they prevailed and they got more equality for minorities in this country, did you not benefit from it? Did your people not benefit from it? Did we not benefit from it? What's that? How's that saying go when they say injustice anywhere is a threat to justice everywhere? So simply because it's not a member of your community that has been murdered, that doesn't mean that you sit back and stay quiet. You have to stand up and you have to go out there and you have to fight and demand for justice alongside them. One of the things that actually really it really upset me, it made me really angry as well as really, really sad, is having a member of my own family who actually sent me videos of Mexican street vendors in SoCal who were being attacked by African Americans, and him telling me essentially his point being that why would I continue to support Black Lives Matter, or why would I continue to support these demonstrations for the murder of George Floyd when African Americans themselves are attacking our people. And it actually really pissed me off that I had to explain to someone in this day and age that the actions of those few individuals in those videos don't reflect upon the greater African American population of this country. I'm not going to generalize an entire race based on the actions of a few. I'm definitely not going to hate an entire race based on the actions of a few. I had to explain to him that the same way he got angry when Trump called us all rapists and murderers and drug dealers, that's the same kind of anger I was getting from him making the generalization that because these men were African American in these videos assaulting Mexicans, that now every African American was like that. I had to point out to him that he was being a fucking hypocrite. And the thing that really pissed me off throughout the week is that I didn't just have to explain it to him. I had to explain it to multiple people within my own community. Specifically on TikTok, who were responding to my videos saying that, one, I was kissing ass to the African American community, which I'm not. I'm standing up and demanding for justice. Or they were telling me, essentially, you shouldn't stand with them when they don't stand with us. Really. Because if you go on a Google search, which is a free resource, I might add, you can look up and see that during the ICE protests, when we were protesting ICE putting our kids in cages, when we were protesting the president getting rid of the deferred action for childhood arrivals, and even back then during Arnold Schwarzenegger's time as a governor in California, when he took licenses away from illegal immigrants, and we were protesting then, guess what? There were African Americans there protesting with us side by side, demanding justice as well. So clearly, if you're telling me that they don't stand up for us, you don't know what the fuck you're talking about. But look, this kind of divisiveness doesn't just exist within the Latino community, because I've actually been made aware on my TikTok of this woman named Kaneesha, and I might have mispronounced your last name, and I'm sorry. But let's look through some of her videos. And yes, this is technically a reaction style video. It's not scripted. It's sort of a last minute video because I was actually working on a Mexican history video where I was talking about Malinche. So now we're going to be reacting to this woman's commentary into her videos. So let's get into it. All right, so anyway, the first video we're dealing with here is why I no longer support Black Lives Matter. And she's talking about she doesn't support the Black Lives Matter movement, which if you don't support the movement, that's one thing. Maybe you don't like the way that the movement itself goes about demonstrating or some of the things they've said. That's totally on you as an individual. I personally do support the Black Lives Matter movement. But let's just listen to what she says real quick.
Peace, family. It's Kaneesha and I am back with another video. And today we are going to be talking about why I do not support Black Lives Matter. I've seen so many people say, how you gonna support Black Lives Matter and not brown? I marched with Black Lives Matter, dude. And I'm like, I don't give a fuck if you support Black Lives Matter, because I don't support that shit. I don't have shit to do with Black Lives Matter, you guys. Motherfuckers be saying all this goofy shit and they don't even know what the fuck they be talking about. I am not an activist. And
you don't have to be an activist to support a cause. I'm not a fucking activist. You know what I mean? But I still recognize the fact that what happened to George Floyd was murder, and I still recognize the fact that we need to go out and fight for justice, and not just for African Americans, but every minority group in this country. But go ahead, continue.
None of that shit. I'm just a regular victim of white supremacy like every other black person, whether they want to believe that shit or not, okay? So let's get that straight right there. And as far as, for you illegal immigrants that's talking all this shit, talking about how you gonna support Black Lives Matter but don't want to support brown, you motherfuckers are not brown. When you
I don't know, look pretty fucking brown to me.
Apply for the jobs that you steal. When it comes to race and ethnicity, you put white, Hispanic. So stop with the black and
right here she goes, when you apply for jobs that you steal, which by the way, I didn't steal my job. I'm just going to put this out there. I fucking earned it by having the qualifications required to perform my job. Okay? I'm actually overqualified for my fucking job. Anyway, making the assumption that we're putting white, Hispanic, or whatever. One, when that option is put on there, how the fuck is that our choice? We don't choose to put the classification as white, Hispanic. Two, do we put that? Do we all put that? Let's see. I have some paperwork here, actually, where I do put my race. Oh, let's see. What's this say here? Ethnicity, Hispanic, Latino. Cool. Race. Our options are white, Asian, Black or African American, Native Hawaiian or Pacific Islander, and American Indian. Gee, I wonder which one I chose. I don't choose white because I'm not white. I didn't choose Asian because Mexico is not in Asia, so I'm not Asian. Did I choose black? No, because I'm obviously not black or African American. Native Hawaiian? Nope, never been to Hawaii. Or Pacific Islander? Not from the Pacific Islands. Guess what I chose, actually? American Indian. And some people might say, but you're Mexican. Mexican is not American Indian. Well, as far as I'm concerned, Mexicans are native. So I put American Indian on there. And if you don't like that, oh well, that's what I fucking put. So this whole idea that we identify as white, that's your assumption. That's your assumption. Don't spit that out there like it's fact. You're assuming. But let's continue.
Brown bullshit. You white. Black Lives Matter was hijacked by a white man named George Soros, I believe.
And then she
And
goes
it's
on with the
all
George
white
Soros
capitalism.
conspiracy
Black
theory
Lives
bullshit.
Matter is a code word.
One thing that I want to point out is she says all this shit, right? Hijacked by George Soros and all this shit. Okay. Where are there's no sources. Not to toot my own fucking horn here, but in my videos we're talking about Mexican history. Oh look, I put sources where I fucking got the information that I talked about. You appear to just be talking out of your ass, but let's continue. Go ahead, see what you have to say.
For the white supremacists that targets all black people, and it literally means any and every black person on earth. And I'm a free individual. Black Lives Matter, to be honest.
You can be a free individual while supporting a movement. Supporting Black Lives Matter doesn't make you automatically a part of some horde where you're not allowed to be an individual with your own thoughts. You can be an individual and support movements.
It's just a sully, dully fucking name. It's just not grassroots. It never has been. Do I think Black Lives Matter? Of course I do. But if we want to be honest, in a system of white supremacy, we all know that they don't. And I think we fail to realize that we.
Which is why we're marching. In a system where we obviously Black Lives Matter, but in a system that doesn't value them, that's why we're marching. That's why we're protesting. That's why we're angry, and that's why we're coming together.
We can scream Black Lives Matter all day, but the honest truth is we are expendable to them. And instead of yelling Black Lives Matter, I'm more about action. I would rather show you guys how much I think Black Lives Matter to me by putting all my time and effort into black, reproducing black, supporting black businesses. It's a lot of black people, who sleep with white people, but they Black Lives Matter all day. They not about this shit for real. And just because of
that part's the one that kind of tripped me out, which kind of led me to believe all this before that she was saying. I figured, okay, she's really pro-black, which is fine to be pro your own people, right? You want to support your communities, and I get that. So I thought, okay, she's just someone who wants to support her community. But when she mentioned that there's people out there who are white or black but sleep with white people, that's where I kind of got the hint that maybe she's just a fucking racist. So are you saying that an African American who sleeps with white people suddenly now, what, they don't really support their own community? You're not allowed to have preferences as to who you're attracted to? So let's say me. I'm married to a Hispanic woman. But before that, I was, before I got married, I used to really fucking be into Asian chicks. And that was all I ever fucking asked out. Does that suddenly mean that I don't support my own community because I'm fraternizing with it? No. Just like the same way that if an African American person who happens to date white people, it doesn't make them any less black. And it doesn't make their opinions on Black Lives Matter any less relevant. But please continue this video. Please finish what you're saying.
White person wears a Black Lives Matter shirt or comes to a Black Lives Matter protest, they do not get recognition from me for saying some shit that black people have been saying for years. And I noticed a lot of black people, they won't even support, an organization unless it gets the okay from the dominant society.
Again, where? Cite your source. Give me proof.
So yeah, I do not support Black Lives Matter. I'm just I will show you how much I think Black Lives Matter. So I just want to thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. If you love
Actually,
my
as you can tell, I already
content and
disliked
you
your
want to see
video.
more of me, then feel free to donate to my YouTube.
Go ahead and move on to the next video. Anyway, here's the next video, and that's the attack of the illegal immigrants update.
Peace, family. It's Kaneesha and I am back with another video. And today I'm just going to be giving a small update. Yesterday I posted a video, giving black people the heads up about how Mexicans were ambushing black people in Chicago. And I even went on Twitter to let people know, and that post kind of went viral, got like over 1,000 likes. And I also went to the extent to let people know to tell their poppy to stay home, because I will call ICE on anyone selling corn in a cup on my turf. I need to protect my turf like y'all protecting. First off, that's not even y'all shit, okay?
This is funny. So she's talking about, obviously there's racial tension between black and Hispanic groups, and it happens. There's that exists in Southern California as well, and I guess in Chicago there's a lot of racial tension between like black and Hispanic gangs. Um, and that's unfortunate, but that's why I said what I said before, where we need to educate our communities and try to steer them away from these racist ideologies, right? Just the same way that I don't support when like my uncle or any of my friends send me some fucking video of a guy in Southern California attacking a Mexican and telling me, see, why would you support? Just like I don't support that, and I try to educate them and say, look, those people don't represent the majority of African Americans. That's what you guys need to be doing as well. Because the Mexican gangbangers that were attacking African Americans during your protests, they don't represent the whole majority of Hispanic Americans in this country. For instance, I've never fucking gangbanged. I've never sold drugs. I've never done any of this shit. I've, I've actually had a friend who was murdered by a Mexican gangbanger. But here's the thing: what we need to be doing is we need to be teaching our communities that the actions of these few individuals don't represent the majority. That's obviously something you don't apply by. And the other thing that I found kind of ridiculous is the fact that you're going to call ICE on someone just trying to make a living when it affects you in no way. You're saying your turf? I mean, do you have your own cup of corn business that they're taking sales from? Like, mind your own business. Let these people make their own money. And also, you're making the assumption that simply because they're selling on the street that makes them illegal. So you're calling ICE on them? It's ridiculous, bro. I think it's funny. And then she talks about other reports again. I'm not fully aware of everything that's going on in Chicago because I'm not from Chicago. I'm from the Bay Area. I know what's going on in the Bay Area as far as the protests, but I've heard reports that yes, there was racial violence going on over there, and I heard that there was members of the Hispanic community, a lot of them gangbangers. They came into Hispanic majority communities and tried to defend their turf against looters, and that this led to violence, which left people injured, which I don't condone. But and you're saying that, well, this wasn't your shit to begin with. If you're talking about people, and I'm not mentioning gangbangers, but you're talking about people trying to defend their own businesses, and guess what? That is their shit because it's their business, it's their money, it's their hard work that went into building that, right? Now, if you're just talking about gangbangers going into different neighborhoods and protect, that's different. That's gang violence, and obviously I don't fucking condone that. But let's continue with what
You're
point you're
not
gonna make.
from here. That's our shit. Y'all just staying there for whatever reason.
Because the United States is part of North America that had a lot of native tribes, some of which Mexicans descended from. That's why we're staying here. Also, you probably never heard of Mexican repatriation, which I'm just going to go ahead and mention that. Did you know that between 1929 and 1936, about 2 million Mexicans were deported back to Mexico? Now, legally, this actually fits the definition of an ethnic cleansing for the fact that the people were targeted simply because they were Mexican and not necessarily because they were illegal. Because 60% of the people that were deported during Mexican repatriation were natural born American citizens. But you didn't know that, and I highly doubt that you'd actually go and look into that because clearly, as I'm watching your videos, you have a very anti Hispanic bias. But let's continue.
But anywho, do you guys know that tons of Latinos came at me for saying some real shit? Like, I mean,
Gee, I can't imagine why.
it was corn juice everywhere. And they was really trying to play dumb, acting like they don't know why I said what the fuck I said. Like, even on YouTube. And I can give less than a damn about the select few of Latinos that are saying, oh, we aren't all like that, because That will not bring back the pregnant black woman and a 14-year-old black boy that.
Cool. So here you go. You're making the same generalizations that people like my uncle made, who, oh, well, those Mexican street vendors were attacked by black people. Cool. They don't represent a majority of black people. Now you're saying, well, it doesn't matter that a majority of Hispanics aren't anti-black racists because the fact that the majority isn't anti-black isn't going to bring back the few people who were murdered by anti-black racist Hispanics. Do you see how ridiculous that logic is? You're taking people who were murdered by Hispanics, unfortunate, tragic, that sucks. But you can't put the blame on the entire community for the action of those individuals. I think it's funny. You're seriously sitting here and you're making a video, making a lot of anti-Hispanic, like obviously anti-Hispanic biased fucking claims, but at the same time, you're also making other videos where you're talking about white supremacy. You're condemning racism while promoting racism. You're condemning racism against your community but then promoting racism against another community. Do you not see how that's hypocritical and frankly rather idiotic? I see it. To me, it's important that you see it though, because I already see it.
Were murdered by those Mexicans. I feel absolutely nothing when, these people try to guilt me. And as a matter of fact, the more they bitch at me, the more you guys call me names, the more cornmans are going to be put in a cage with aluminum sheets. I even had one.
The more you criticize me for holding racist sentiments by saying Mexicans committed these crimes, therefore I don't like all Mexicans, the more I'm going to call ICE on Mexicans. That's your logic. You see how that's flawed?
These people have the audacity to tell me that I was jealous because I don't have a foreign flag or because I'm not from a foreign place. And I'm like, I'm very proud of my black American heritage. That flag back there, y'all making jokes and shit, but that represents foundational black Americans.
And you should be. You should be very proud of your African American heritage because your people built this country. It was built on your people's backs. You've been very resilient and and despite all of the shit that's gone in your people's history, your people have managed to, even though they're still suffering a lot of injustice, they've still managed to bounce back and build a lot of shit for themselves, and that's very commendable, and that's something obviously to be proud of. But while you're proud of your own people, maybe don't condemn a whole entire other portion of the population based on the actions of a few.
Why in the fuck would I want to be from a poor ass third world country eating pies and selling pussy all day? Because that's all y'all do in them foreign countries. If we gonna.
That's all they're doing in foreign countries, right? Every country that's not America is eating mud pies and selling pussy. Every country.
Keep it a buck, y'all be selling pussy like it's pancakes over there. So I'm good where I'm at right now, and I'm.
Yeah, because only foreign countries have problems with prostitution. Never mind that the Bay Area is probably, which is in the United States, this country that you're from, that you're so proud of, right, has one of the highest human trafficking rates in the fucking country. I mean, San Jose alone closed over 200 fucking massage parlors in just the last 2 years, right? But sure, it's other countries that have problems with prostitution and selling pussy. Okay, sure.
Aware that most of these things that these people are saying are projection. I just want black people to know you have to tell truth to power. When you tell the truth, people will attack you. However, you cannot allow a group of people that's not even on our level to bully you out of your self-pride and truth-seeking.
Not even on our level. So if anything else she said hasn't confirmed that she's a racist, I feel like that statement should confirm it to you. She feels like she's on a higher level simply based on her race. Kind of sounds like white supremacists, right? It does to me.
Always remember, the future is ours, only if you can count. I just want to thank you guys so much for watching. If you like my videos and
I didn't already disliked it. Next video, the anti-black war in Chicago happening now.
Peace family, it's Kaneesha and I am back with another video, and today we are going to be talking about the anti-black war that is occurring in Chicago right now. For almost a year, I have been very vocal about how I feel about the Latino community, and I have constantly tried to warn black people about their strong anti-blackness. And now on Western, 51st, 47, all in that area.
Here she talks about anti-black hate in the Hispanic community, which is a thing. It exists. And as a Hispanic myself, as a Mexican, I have been telling people on other platforms that I have that it's something we do need to come out and fight against. We need to teach the older generations that kind of shit, that kind of mentality, it's toxic. It's something that needs to be left back in the fucking 1920s. It has no place in modern American society. All right? So she mentions that, right? Again, it's something I'm against, something majority of Hispanics are against, especially the younger generation. You know, I would, and so I'll give her that. There's a lot of anti-black racism, right? But at the same time, how are you going to come on here and say I'm warning them about anti-black racism while promoting anti-Hispanic racism? If we're going to get rid of racism, let's just get rid of racism in general. Let's just fucking attack it. Regardless of the race of the racist, let's fucking just eliminate it. Get it the fuck out of here. All right? I don't support racism. You shouldn't either. So let's come together and let's fucking fight against it. Instead of saying, well, you know what makes me angry? Anti-black racism, but also fuck Mexicans. How the fuck? That's a counterproductive argument. Let's fight racism by promoting racism. But whatever, let's continue with what she's saying.
Mexican people are murdering any black person they see. And
all Mexicans? I mean, have there been Hispanics that murdered black people? Of course there have. Have there been blacks that murdered Hispanics? Of course there have. Again, we don't justify, or we don't generalize, that's the word I'm looking for. We don't generalize an entire race based on the actions of a few bad individuals. We don't say every black person is a murderer because one black person commits murder. Do you understand that? I need you to understand that.
And, Mexicans was in our neighborhood looting. I know because I live around these motherfuckers, some of these motherfuckers. And now when black people, are coming around the world to, let their voices be heard, they are literally ambushing black people. And I'm just sitting here trying to figure out who the fuck do these people think they is, because they not the fucking police. They have no authority to question any black person. The police aren't even shooting people who are looting. So I'm trying to figure out why the fuck they feel okay to do that.
Are you talking about Hispanic gangs which are attacking black gangs, or are you talking about the people who were protecting their businesses from looters? And I'm not even saying black looters, looters in general. I want to know which specific person you're talking about, or if you're just generalizing and lumping them all into one.
Motherfuckers do not have the right to bear arms. The Constitution was not written for spics. The Constitution was written for slaves.
The Constitution was not written for spics, she says. So, again, if it hasn't been confirmed to you that she's a racist, it should be now. She says it was built for slaves, which is funny because if I recall, the Constitution was written before slaves were freed. I know there was amendments specifically written to free slaves, and there was amendments specifically written to allow African Americans and other minorities to vote, but to say that it was specifically written for slaves, if I recall, when the Constitution was written, your people, my people, anybody who wasn't white was still seen as less than human. So slow your roll there a little bit, and maybe go back and read a few history books before you spout off on your stupid bullshit. But let's continue, please.
And y'all jumped y'all asses on a boat to come to our ancestral land, and now we are getting...
Mexicans jumped on a boat to hop over to your ancestral land? Last time I checked, the Spaniards hopped on a boat and hopped over to my people's ancestral land, eradicated a bunch of them, interbred with a bunch of other ones, and then the result of that, us, came across a river into land that was still ours until the Mexican-American War. So, and then after the Mexican-American War, the Americans gave the Mexicans still on the conquered land citizenship until 1929, when Mexican repatriation was a thing, and then they deported 2 million Mexicans back to Mexico, 60% of which were natural-born U.S. citizens. Again, madam, before you open your mouth, read a history book. Because at this point in time, you look like an idiot.
And y'all jumped y'all asses on a boat to come to our ancestral land, and now we are getting attacked by illegal foreigners. Black citizens are getting attacked by illegal foreigners. And now I see why Donald Trump said
Black citizens are being attacked by illegal foreigners, you say. They're also being attacked by American citizens who happen to not be Hispanic. And that's part of the reason why we're marching, right? Black Lives Matter. That's part of the reason why we're doing this whole thing. And at the same time, there's also illegal immigrants who are being attacked by African Americans as well, but also other members of the society, including other illegal immigrants, because that's how shit works, right? Every race, every ethnic group, every culture has its bad apples. Don't try to generalize all of the Mexican population or all of Hispanics based on your own biases.
That they are rapists, because they really are. They always undressing black women with their eyes, but they hate black people. Y'all motherfuckers are crazy.
I don't hate black people. He says Donald Trump was right in calling Hispanics rapists because we're undressing black women with our eyes. Okay, well, no. That's all I have to say to that. No. What a fucking reach. We're undressing black women, but you hate black. I don't hate black people. I don't hate any kind of people. I find this statement almost fucking comical.
And they literally
Even my cat's
stabbed
fucking
a
laughing.
pregnant black woman last night, and they shot a black man in front of his daughter in the laundromat. So we got all these gangbangers in the hood, these black gangbangers that's ready to kill a black person over nothing, literally over nothing. But meanwhile, there are Mexican people literally executing black people as we speak. Where the fuck are y'all at?
There's black gangbangers killing black people over nothing. Like there's Mexican gangbangers killing Mexicans over nothing. As I mentioned earlier in my video, one of my best friends, my first friend from when I was 4 years old, was murdered. And he was murdered by a Mexican gangbanger. And I understand you're saying that an African American woman who was pregnant was murdered by a Mexican gangbanger. Or that a man was shot in front of his daughter by a Mexican gangbanger. And that's tragic. That's sad. It fucking sucks. But at the same time, just because they were Mexican, you can't take their actions and then generalize the rest of us. As I've said, I've never murdered anyone. I've never raped anyone physically or with my eyes. I've never fucking assaulted someone for the color of their skin. So I find it super ridiculous and obviously incredibly racist that you're going to sit there and you're going to generalize my entire people based on the actions of these individuals.
Absolutely no way black people should have got killed with no retaliation like that. The cops aren't going to do anything because they're in cahoots with each other. I know y'all seen that meme I posted, Lang Kings and Chicago Police Department. Yeah, they've always been in cahoots with each other. I don't understand where this whole black and brown shit came from. These motherfuckers aren't even brown. These motherfuckers are lighter than me. I'm brown. Where the fuck are the brown people? Who the fuck are the brown people? And for you coons, because I see a lot of coons and bedwenches making jokes.
Coons and bedwenches. You're a Tariq Nasheed fan, huh? That's the only time I've ever heard anybody say bedwench outside of Tariq Nasheed's fucking Twitter account. And I can't even take that motherfucker seriously because he blocked me for criticizing him. He fucking blocked me on my fucking Twitter account that ended up getting banned because I called a pedophile a bitch. But he blocked. So I'm sorry if now I'm 100% not taking you seriously whatsoever.
jokes trying to justify these Mexicans killing black people, talking about, oh, they not playing with y'all. Nigga, what the fuck you mean, y'all? Your ass is included as well. If you black, they don't like your ass either.
I don't have any problem with black people. Again,
You cooning and opening up your pussy is not gonna stop them from shooting your ass. And here's the thing with the coons, they're a big fucking problem. If we was all on code against these people, they wouldn't even feel comfortable murdering black people like that, because they would know we was coming for them. This is an anti-black war in Chicago. Everyone spread the word and stay on code. I want to just thank you.
again, another thing I'd like to say is that for every one of these videos that I've mentioned or that I've included in my reaction or in my discussion here, note that she has never once added anything to her. I don't know why the comments are still loading. Never once added any sources to what she's saying at all, whatsoever. So for me, it's safe to say she's pulling half of this shit out her ass, and it's all based on her own prejudices. Let me give in my final word before I cut this video off. So, again, it's been a tough time, right? A lot of us are out there marching, for justice for the African American community, for minority communities, for George Floyd, who was murdered by a police officer, by 4 police officers, 3 physically and 1 by literally not doing jack shit to stop anything, just standing there like a Krillin looking piece of shit. And we're out there fighting. What we need to understand is we need to stick together. And what Latinos need to understand, despite the fact that you want to deny it, is that African Americans, their struggles, they're our struggles as well. In the system where segregation once existed, that they used to put signs that said no blacks or Mexicans. In this system that doesn't see a difference between us, why would you actively try to create this division? We need to come together and march together and fight together against the racial injustices in this country. We need to come together and fight to reform the police in this country. Because like I've said, the police in this country act more like the government's intimidation force than like the public servant force they are that's supposed to keep our communities safe. We also need to remember that the actions of a few individuals don't reflect their larger communities as a whole. Norteños and sureños committing crimes in wherever the fuck, in the Bay, in Bakersfield, wherever the fuck, they don't reflect upon the Hispanic community as a whole. Black gangs, Crips, Bloods, their actions don't reflect on African Americans as a whole. We need to learn that, and we need to literally stop just adhering to these old, outdated racist beliefs. Anyway, I'm gonna end it on this note and just say this: if you give me your opinion, give me your response in the comments. If you like the video, like it. If you don't, dislike it. All engagement's good engagement as far as I'm concerned. Share it. If you like what I'm talking about, subscribe. Also, for all those who some people have comments on my TikTok that they're tired of me making political videos and they want me to go back to talking about Mexican history, I'm working on it. Chill out. There's other shit I want to talk about right now, and that's this. All right, but if you want to see more Mexican history content, then go ahead and subscribe. I got a video on La Malinche. I've written the script. I'm editing, and I'll start recording hopefully tomorrow, or if not, then within the week. This has been Internet Mexican. Oh, and don't forget to check me out. I have a new Twitter, since Twitter won't unban my last one, and that's Online Mexican at Twitter. Go check me out on Instagram at Internet Mexican Show, and follow me on TikTok, because I post there a lot more often, and I got a lot more shit to say on there, just because those videos are easier to make. Anyway, see you guys later.